Okay, let me talk. Let me talk. I know. Okay, okay, okay. Okay, kisses. Do you want horseradish? Do you want horseradish? Huh? I know. You need your eyes wiped. You do. You do. Okay. What? You want to get on the camera? Huh? You want to say hello? We're going to dig up some horseradish. I drag my feet every year on digging this up. Just, I guess because I know that it's totally fine in the soil. Totally fine. Good to go. And if I don't need it, I know that it's there and I can dig it up at any time and process it. But, oh, there's some beautiful geese flying over. Do you hear them? Horseradish is something that should be harvested in fall. Technically, it's still fall. Even though it's December, it's not December 21st. And we're gonna harvest this because it's a warm day. We've been having this warm spell here in Pennsylvania. It's like 50 degrees. Tomorrow's supposed to be 60. So while it's warm, I'm gonna dig up this horseradish, try to find it. I know it's under there somewhere. The leaves have all died back. Horseradish is something that you cannot kill. It's actually pretty invasive, but it is a root vegetable and it's amazing for your health. It's an immune supporting root vegetable. You only eat it in little tiny bits. I'm sure you're familiar with it, but we love to gift it this time of year at Christmas time with our goodie baskets of homemade things. And the one thing with horseradish that we have found, and if you have any answers to this, please let me know, but the one thing that we have found is it is so good when it is freshly grated and grinded. I use my Vitamix. I'll show you guys how to do that, how we do that with vinegar and just the root vegetables. But it's really good the first couple of days and then it starts to lose its potency. And I like my horseradish super potent. Like we open that Vitamix and take a whiff and it burns your nose hairs. So that's how strong it is. So that's another reason why I wait to the very, very last minute to get this out of the ground. And like I said, it's technically still fall, so I'm gonna harvest this. Last year, we had a dusting of snow and I thought, oh my word, I need to get this out of the ground before it really snows and I can't get to it. When we moved here onto this property, it was in May and we transferred things over from our rented homestead and we were just putting things in the ground. And there was a garden right now where we have our strawberries, asparagus, our blackberries. There was a small patch that the previous owners had already created and we just like stuck our horseradish in there. And later we created that spot to be our strawberry patch, and so it was smack dab in the strawberry row and we were like, what is it doing here? So we moved it up here to the top garden, but since it is so invasive, it still is down there growing in that strawberry patch. So if you haven't planted horseradish yet on your homestead, I highly suggest that you do. If you love horseradish, like tonight we are having grass-fed beef steaks seared on the grill, and I am so excited to put some fresh horseradish on top of that. So we do harvest it for ourselves, but we love to gift it to those that are, to our friends that are foodies. So it's so fresh, it's so good, it just opens your sinus cavities. It opens your sinus cavities. It's an immune supporter. It actually is a root vegetable, so and it's a cruciferous vegetable, so it is really good for cancer fighting agents, all around great for respiratory support. Whenever we are stuffed up, clogged up, we just take a scoop of that horseradish and it just opens up the sinuses. So not just good tasting, but also really beneficial for your health and to add some flavor to your meals. All right, let's dig this stuff out. This horseradish is insane. Insane. Last year, I harvested our horseradish from the lower garden, the stuff that was down there that was just lingering, that continued to take root even after we dug it all up and moved it up here to the top garden. I honestly, last winter, ran out. It started to flurry and I knew snow was coming. I think I ran out in like my bare feet, maybe sandals, and dug it up really quickly because I was like, I have to get this out of the ground. And that was the quickest way to get it out of the ground, was down in the lower garden. I have not harvested it from the top garden yet. It is doing phenomenal up here. So guys, that just goes to show you, sometimes if something's not growing well in an area that you put on your homestead, dig it up and transplant it to another spot. For instance, we did that with our rhubarb. We had rhubarb in the same spot. Like I said, we moved onto this property and we were just putting things anywhere. And our rhubarb wasn't doing well in that lower garden. And so we dug it up and we now have it where our medicinal herb garden is, in that lower like kitchen garden. And it is like flourishing there. It gets huge and like just massive, and it's so healthy there. But it wasn't just, I don't know, a few yards away, which goes to show you, like, don't think that just because a plant isn't doing well, it's your fault. All you have to do is just maybe try a different location. Maybe it needs more sun, maybe it needs more shade, maybe it needs drier soil. So the horseradish here is thriving because this is a drier area up top. And we have like composted it with all kinds of things: hay, wood chips, manure, like I said, our peach tree trimmings, and it is, let me show you guys, massive. And do not be afraid to harvest a bunch of it. Optimally, you have to harvest, or you should, I shouldn't say have to, you should harvest. My hands are super dirty right now, so I'm like trying to keep my hair out of my face. You should harvest it after the 3rd year of planting. If you planted this spring, then wait 3 years, okay? So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 6 more plants that are in here. So we have a bunch of plants and a bunch of starts. But I know where I harvested those last, I took up 3 plants, 3 roots. And I know where those were harvested. There's still lingering roots in there that are gonna start to, grow again. And so next year when I harvest, I'm not gonna harvest in that spot. I'll harvest around it, and I'll harvest the plants that, I didn't bring up in 2021. So it's good to have multiple plants. Don't just plant one, plant a few. And then that way in 3 years, you can harvest one spot and then, let that regrow. Next year, harvest another one, and it's just alternating. Where you harvest your roots from. Same with medicinals. With echinacea, optimally you harvest those roots after 2 years. So obviously you want to have another plant, so that way you can harvest again the next year. It's always thinking ahead and thinking, okay, well, if I want to harvest this next year, I should have another plant ready to go. And that's just what it comes down to when you're harvesting root vegetables, perennial root vegetables or herbs. So let's take this inside and we're gonna clean it off and we're gonna put it through the Vitamix. I think I am gonna save some of it to ferment too. Brooke has been wanting to ferment it. This horseradish goes way, 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 way back. Brooke often says his grandfather would be very, very proud of him for growing horseradish. It's just something that his grandfather grew and sold at the market. His grandfather was an organic farmer here in Lancaster County. So horseradish and sauerkraut were his things to sell at market. Brooke often says that his house smelled very interesting. But yeah, so this is Brooke's thing. This is his deal. So I'm gonna let him blend this tonight, and maybe we'll work together at learning how to ferment horseradish as well to get some extra probiotic benefits for the immune supporting properties that horseradish already has. you need goggles?
This is a good one. Do you didn't get it yet?
No. No.
You're strong, girl. Awesome.
Okay, so I'm going to take over the next batch of horseradish. Brooke did the traditional horseradish blended with some apple cider vinegar, just enough apple cider vinegar to create like a milky, creamy consistency. And so when you're making it that way, it is super, super easy to make horseradish. It's really just, like we said, scrubbing that horseradish with a really, really rough brush, because we don't peel it. I mean, peeling horseradish, I don't know what your horseradish is like, but ours is all knobby and intertwined, and it's difficult to peel. So we find that just taking it and with a really rough brush and scrubbing it really, really good gets it really clean and good enough just to throw in the food processor. So I prefer the Vitamix. Brooke prefers the food processor. I don't know, you guys get to choose what you like to experiment with. So we did the traditional recipe of just grinding that horseradish down in the food processor, and then adding just enough apple cider vinegar to create that, that creaminess of horseradish sauce. And now we're gonna do 2 different recipes. Brooke has been wanting to ferment some horseradish. So we found 2 different recipes. I'm gonna link them both below so you can decide for yourself. One calls for honey, a starter culture, whether it's whey, sauerkraut juice, fermented pickle juice. We're gonna use sauerkraut juice. I do not like whey when I'm fermenting. I feel like it gets this like off taste, this off flavor, and it leaves like this scummy pond scum stuff on the top of my ferment, and so I don't prefer that. So we're going to use some sauerkraut culture in this recipe. It calls for honey, the culture, salt, and then water, and we're going to blend that together and put it in the fermenting crock. The other recipe that we found calls for just salt and a little bit of water. So we're going to try 2 different recipes and see what we like best, but we have been wanting to ferment our horseradish for the longest time, and we're going to try it. So this first recipe calls for 5 cups of finely grated horseradish, 1 cup of starter, some honey. I have to follow it. I have to look at it. Let me look. Good old Pinterest. I love Pinterest, right? 2 tablespoons of sea salt, 3 tablespoons of honey, and then some filtered water or well water. It will definitely make your eyes water if you forget. I totally forgot. I kind of looked in that hole and I forgot that horseradish is wicked and potent. So just a reminder, if this is your first time making horseradish. I am gonna transfer it over to the Vitamix because there are quite a few large chunks in here that need to be ground up, and the Vitamix is just a powerhouse. Whew, but my eyes are watering, and we have one more batch to go. And that's the one that is just salt and horseradish root. It does tend to get a little dry, and I think that's why it does call for some unfiltered water or well water. You never want to use public water, just because that could always have chlorine or fluoride in it that could really prohibit your fermentation. And you always want to use a really good sea salt, so Redmond's real salt, Celtic sea salt, but never like table salt, because that's not going to help your ferments. It's actually going to hinder it from activating and actually fermenting. All right, let's get this jarred up.
That stinks.
That is wicked. Now the real taste testing. Let's see how it compares to the vinegar stuff. You don't want to try it? No. My nose hairs are already burning. Oh my word. That'll open you up if you need some respiratory support, lung support, nasal support. Oh my word. So I'm gonna add this to my fermenting crock and let it sit for about a week, and then taste test it after that and see if I want it to go a little longer. This is the first time we've ever fermented horseradish, so we shall see how it compares to just our regular old vinegar and horseradish concoction. So this fermenting crock is a handmade crock from a local artist. I'll tag him below. Friend of ours, and this was handmade, special made. Brooke ordered it from him for me for Valentine's Day.
For Christmas.
And then it became a Christmas gift just because of the length of time it took to actually create this. So when I ferment, I like to use a water weight, so it's just a gallon bag with water in it, and it helps to, like, that pressure, and it helps to seal. Our friend Mark did make like a weight to put on top. It's not super heavy, so it won't push everything down. So I'm gonna put the water on top of that. You can simply use a mason jar, that will work as well. There are so many different ways to ferment and so many different vessels out there these days, but we use a combination, and you don't need anything fancy. So like I said, I'm just gonna keep this water seal right here on top. It adds enough weight and it seals everything in. So I'm gonna check this in 3 days, and then again in 5 days. It should be done in a week. I'm gonna go ahead and make the other recipe that just calls for salt, and then we're gonna do some taste testing in about a week and see which one we prefer. But for now, I wish you all a very, very Merry Christmas. This is our last homemade Christmas gift that we are making for this season, our homemade horseradish. We put together just a little video, a little jingle for you guys to watch. We have been elving all December, actually since the end of November, making gifts, making merry, enjoying the season, and I hope you take time to just sit around the table, gather, break bread, connect with your loved ones, because gathering and connecting is more important than anything. Wishing you a happy, happy holiday and a Merry Christmas.